Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice. And by the 2013 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 15 years in a row. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center on a beautiful evening. It's 22 degrees. The roof is wide open. John Farrell's Boston Red Sox won 4-2 last night in 11 innings. Now it's time to take a look at the lineups. They're brought to you by Quaker Steak. Real, durable oil. Top of the order, one of the best leadoff men in all of baseball, Jacoby Ellsbury, is in the top of the order. Shane Victorino had the game winner last night, and Dustin Pedroia this season against the Blue Jays has worn them out. For Pedroia, 2 more hits in the game last night. 383 for the season for Pedroia, their spark-plugged second baseman. David Ortiz is the DH. Stephen Drew in August has been red hot. 386 average with a pair of homers and 8 RBIs. Stephen Drew took an 0 for last night. 2 fine defensive plays by Rajay Davis ended his hit streak.
Yeah, would have continued if not for Rajay. Esmil Rogers will pitch tonight for the Blue Jays, and they had planned to use Esmil in the bullpen after 7 rough starts, but the injury to Josh Johnson, he is back into the rotation. There are his numbers in 13 starts this season.
New look in the outfield. Kevin Pillar, the rookie, will make his first big league start in left field. Rajay Davis in center, Bautista in right. Laurie and Reyes on the left side of the infield. Munenori Kawasaki makes his 9th start at second base. He's back from Buffalo. Edwin Encarnacion at first, and J.P. Arancibia is behind the plate.
Trying to throw some defense at you. Kawasaki at second base. He'll team with Reyes and Kevin Pillar. His first big league start in left field.
The first pitch of the ball game in there, and we are underway. Ellsbury takes a strike. Jacoby Ellsbury has a 15-game hit streak against the Blue Jays. 300 on the nose for Ellsbury. Breaking ball down. It's a ball on the strike.
Esmil Rogers pitched against the Boston Red Sox. In fact, that was the last start before those 7 rough outings that I was just talking about. And why he was successful, he really pounded the strike zone with his fastball. Used it a lot, especially early in the game.
Right down at the bottom of the strike zone. Rogers in that outing allowed just 3 hits through the first 5 innings. He was great, and as you mentioned, he was pounding the strike zone with the fastball.
I think that's how you have to pitch the Boston Red Sox, because they're so patient. You have to have an above-average fastball, and you got to throw a lot of them.
Breaking ball fouled off. Rogers certainly grateful for the opportunity to get another chance to start, and he'd like to turn things around. Obviously, with all the injuries and poor performance, there are a lot of opportunities on this pitching staff right now.
Yeah, there's a lot hanging in the balance here over the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season, if you're looking to next year already.
Breaking ball, another foul up the first base side. We mentioned Ellsbury in his 15-game hit streak. Only Wade Boggs had a longer hit streak against the Blue Jays, a 20-game hit streak that spanned the seasons from 86 to 88.
Pretty good company. Both of them Boston Red Sox players.
Another 1-2 pitch, another slider, and he fouls it back. Rogers got good velocity, and there's never been a problem with his stuff. For that rough stretch that you were talking about, he lost the sink on his fastball.
That's absolutely right. It just disappeared on him, and he tried to throw the ball down and away to the lefties or down and into the righties, and it just straightened out on him. I think he needs to use that fastball.
That gets away from Arancibia, and Ellsbury is going to make it to first. Looked like a curveball, a bigger breaking ball hit in the dirt and kicked away from Arancibia. It'll be a strikeout and a wild pitch.
You're right. Breaking ball down in the dirt. Ellsbury swings over the top of it, and it ricochets off the forearm of J.P. Arancibia. And that's going to put Ellsbury, the league's leading base stealer, at first.
44 steals on the season for Ellsbury. He had a pair of stolen bases in last night's game. So Rogers and Arancibia are going to be under the gun right out the chute. Shane Victorino had the game-winning hit last night. a 2-run single in the 11th. Victorino's been a great addition to this ball club. Former Blue Jays third base coach Brian Butterfield going through the signs. Victorino and Ellsbury locked in on him. You notice Ellsbury is batting left-handed today. Victorino, is batting left-handed. The switch hitter hit right-handed yesterday because of an injury, but he's obviously feeling better today.
What a gamer. You know, his at-bat, his last at-bat last night, Ellsbury was on first. There was also a runner at third base with 1 strike, and he took a pitch right down the middle for strike 2 because Ellsbury was stealing. Not afraid to take a strike here and there. Anyway, he took it for strike 2, got Ellsbury into scoring position. Next pitch, he got a base hit, which was the game winner. That shows you the type of player that he is.
Yeah, he is all about winning, and he knew that he could hit with 2 strikes. He wanted to get that second runner into scoring position. 2-0. Now 3-0. That base hit for Ellsbury was unique in that it marked the first time. The base hit by Victorino was the first time in his career that he had had a go-ahead 2-out hit in extra innings.
Hard to believe, isn't it? Such a good clutch player. He's played on some winning teams.
Esmail Rogers gets a strikeout and a walk, but he ends up with 2 runners on and nobody out. Take a look at Esmail Rogers over his 13 starts. The first 6 he was very good, but then he really ran into a roadblock. 7 starts with an 8.50 ERA, and that was because he lost that good sink on his fastball.
Lost the sink to the fastball. His breaking ball, he wasn't throwing it for strikes. And the team record, the important number, 5-1 in those 6 starts. The Blue Jays just 1-6 in his last 7.
Dustin Pedroia takes his strength. Well, we always talk about the Red Sox and their patient approach at the plate. And they have a game plan. They want to get a good pitch to hit. It's not about taking a base on balls. It's about getting a good pitch to hit.
And you know what else? First game of the series, Blue Jays used 7 relievers in last night's ball game. They know they're a little short out in that bullpen. If they can get that pitch count up on Esmail Rogers, make him throw a lot of pitches, their goal is to get him out by the 5th inning. Very thin out in the bullpen tonight.
Yeah, the Red Sox will talk about that among the players. We got to get to their bullpen. Pedroia stays alive. When you look at the lineup for the Red Sox, they have tough outs up and down the order, and this is the pitches per plate appearance and where they rank in the American League, and Mike Napoli is atop the list.
Yeah, 4.5 pitches per at-bat. Stephen Drew, Dustin Pedroia, Daniel Nava's up there. A couple of other guys who are up there are just off that list right there. David Ortiz and Jacoby Ellsbury. So up and down that lineup, there's not an easy out. They make you work. You start adding those things up, and it's 100 by the 5th inning.
Well, it's interesting. In last night's game, the Red Sox worked Todd Redmond for 28 pitches in the first inning. Already, Esmail Rogers is up to 15, and there's nobody out. Redmond did a terrific job of overcoming that rough start. He went 5 1/3. Shut out the Red Sox on just 3 hits. Pedroia strikes out. Good fastball inside.
Second strikeout of the inning, and this ball is right inside. Look at the rotation of where it is and how it ties up Dustin Pedroia. That's a good pitch right there from Rogers.
So that'll bring the DH to the plate, David Ortiz, with runners at first and second. Ortiz has had a terrific road trip. He's 13 for 28 on the road trip, a .464 average.
And he will not get cheated when he's at the plate.
We talked about Ortiz and his terrific career. He's always been tough in clutch situations. but he too has a game plan. You can bet he had an idea watching Rogers work to Ellsbury that to finish an at bat he might get a breaking ball.
There it is, right there.
So now ahead 0-2 to Ortiz. Rogers, in my mind, has to stay aggressive. A strike to ball breaking ball or something hard inside.
Makes a lot of sense. Maybe you get one underneath the hand, maybe jam him, get a ground ball. If you get a ground ball, you're out of the inning.
He went around. Back-to-back strikeouts. That's 3 strikeouts in the inning for Esmil Rogers.
Hard slider, just like you ordered, right underneath the hands. And Ortiz cannot check his swing. He's got a sharp breaking slider tonight.
So Rogers, with 2 outs, will face Johnny Gomes. Gomes playing in left field. He came in the ball game as a pinch hitter in last night's game in the 6th inning. He walked in that pinch hit at bat, finished up 0 for 2 with a strikeout. Rogers is doing a good job with that fastball inside. This is a club you have to pitch inside.
You have to pitch inside, and I think you have to keep it down. That's the important thing. Keep that ball down. Make him reach for it.
Ball on the strike to Johnny Gomes. Boy, he's in a good spot with his fastball early in this game.
Yeah, look where all of those fastballs are. They're in the lower part of the strike zone. Stay back just a little bit longer. His hands on top of the ball better tonight. At times he gets on the side of the baseball, straightens out the pitch.
That's tough. 2-2, 2 outs. The Blue Jays have had just one pitcher in franchise history strike out 4 batters in an inning. Steve Delabar. Rogers has a shot with Johnny Gomes at the plate. Popped in the air. Kawasaki calling for it. Bautista calls him off and makes a catch. What a good start for Esmil Rogers. First and second, nobody out. He gets out of it. John Lester will go to the mound for Boston. Top of the order, Jose Reyes, Rajay Davis, and Jose Bautista. Big league game. Hey, you're in the big guy's seat. Hey, I'll stand up for 9 innings in my first big league game. Take a look at the Blue Jays lineup. Top of the order, Jose Reyes will lead things on. And then Jose Bautista. He has faced John Lester more than any pitcher in his big league career. He's got 3 doubles and 4 home runs against Lester. He knows him well. Brett Flory on this homestand is 8 for 19. That's a .421 average with 3 doubles and 2 RBIs. John Lester making his 5th start of the season against the Blue Jays.
More than any other team that he has faced, those 5 starts versus the Blue Jays. And for the season, Lester is 3-0 versus Toronto. Full run and a half better versus Toronto than his .437 earned run average total for this season. He's throwing much better. Last time out against Kansas City, had a rough first inning and then got a lot better.
Jose Reyes looks at one outside. Reyes just 1 for 8 against John Lester. He had an 0 for 4 last night with a walk. He too wants to get a feel for what Lester is featuring here tonight. Esmail Rogers got that call during his half inning. Bill Cuzzy has established the low strike.
Well, the good ones will just keep pounding it down there.
In the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes. John Lester is making his 100th career start against the American League East. And he has a 95-55 career record, including a 52-30 record on the road. He's just a winner.
Yeah, he is. He gives you innings. Just a bulldog.
Chopped back to the mound. Lester smothers it. Reyes is retired, 1 down. The Red Sox, as a team, have committed 63 errors this season. Johnny Gomes gets the start in left. 2 Gold Glovers in center and right, Ellsbury and Victorino. Will Middlebrooks back from the minor leagues is at third. Stephen Drew has stabilized shortstop, and Pedroia, he too has a pair of Gold Gloves to his credit. Mike Napoli's at first, and Jared Saltalamacchia is behind the plate.
And on top of getting the game-winning hit last night, Shane Victorino picked up a big outfield assist, throwing out a runner at the plate, his 8th of the season. He's only made 2 errors out there. He's been great in the outfield for the Red Sox.
Rajay Davis shoots it to Victorino. He moves over easily and makes the catch. 2 down. Victorino was brought in to play the toughest right field in baseball at Fenway Park, and he's handled it well.
Boy, he has. You talk to some of the Red Sox coaches, and they say he has been their best outfielder this season in a very difficult field to play in Fenway Park.
Jose Bautista, we mentioned he has 52 at-bats against John Lester. These two know each other very well. Bautista's hit 4 home runs against Lester. The only pitcher in which he has more home runs than that is David Price. He's hit 5 against Price. And when you look at the top pitchers in Bautista's book, he's gotten Lester 4 times, Price 5, James Shields 4, and Kevin Slowey 4. So he doesn't mess around. When he's going to hit big home runs, he hits them off the big boys.
Plays against the big guys. And what do Lester and Price have in common? They're left-handed, but they throw a lot of fastballs and they challenge hitters.
Lester got off to a good start this season. He had struggled last year, and he was reunited with his former pitching coach, John Farrell, who took over as manager. He won on opening day after New York beat the Yankees. He became the first Boston left-hander to win on opening day since 1970. And then he won his first 2 starts. First time he's ever done that in his career. He was off to a good start. And Bautista works him for the walk.
Let's take a look at the scouting report for the left-hander for the Boston Red Sox, John Lester. He'll use the fastball, changeup, curveball, cutter. Lately, the changeup has been a lot better for John Lester, more so than the cutter. The cutter's still a very good pitch for him, but it doesn't have the depth of the break that it's had a couple of years ago. Fastball much better to his arm side. That's the outside part of the plate to the right-handers.
Edwin Encarnacion bats with 2 outs. Encarnacion hitting just 152 against Lester. He's 5 for 33. But 2 of those 5 hits have been home runs. Lester works both sides of the plate very effectively, and Encarnacion may have hurt himself. You could hear him. Maybe he was just thinking that he was going to get hit by that inside pitch.
Yeah, it looked like the cutter, and it travels right on the inside part of the plate. Lester can move that fastball and cutter to both sides.
High fly ball into right. Ellsbury coming in. He makes the catch, and the Blue Jays go quietly into first. We played it in inning. It's scoreless. Davis was in left field, and Rob Drew twice.
Had a 12-game hit streak on the line. Rajay runs this one down, full bore to his left. Then later in the game to his right. Deep into that triangle, right into the corner. Rajay backhands it to take away another extra base hit by Stephen Drew.
Really showing his athleticism and concentration. He ran a long way for that ball in the alley in left center. Stephen Drew expected it to be extra bases. Snapped his 12-game hit streak. Rajay is in center tonight.
When both of those balls left the bat, they looked like extra base hits. He just hit it to the wrong guy. Fastest guy in the outfield last night.
Colby Rasmus has been placed on the disabled list, so Davis is scheduled to play a lot in center field. Ball and a strike. Changeup missed downstairs. Esmail Rogers was acquired in a trade in the offseason from the Cleveland Indians for Mike Aviles and Yan Gomes. This is popped up. Reyes, the shortstop, back into shallow center field. The wind is blowing it around. He makes the catch, one down.
Blue Jays on Sportsnet, brought to you by the 2013 Honda Civic, Canada's best-selling car 15 years in a row. Honda, the official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Beautiful evening Hey, how you doing? Great to see you. Hope you're having a good time at the old ballpark tonight. A little different perspective from the outfield.
I met them at breakfast
yeah.
today, and they said they were going to do that. Hi, guys. They're waving at us, Buck. That's awesome. They're from Montreal.
Did you help make the sign?
No, but they told me they were going to do that.
Mike Napoli takes ball 2 inside. Napoli's had a bit of a rough streak lately. He's 6 for his last 50 with 25 strikeouts.
All home run hitters, they get into those streaks.
Broken bat. Reyes waits on it. He's got time and the arm, and he throws out Napoli. Well, Reyes, he knew who was running, and all he had to do was focus on catching that ball on the backhand.
That was the only thing he had to deal with. In the background was the barrel of the bat coming at him, so he had to concentrate, focus, just make sure you catch the ball in the glove, because here comes the barrel right at you. Backhand it, set your feet, take your time, and he's got plenty of arm. Look at that, on a string over to first base.
Tough to focus when you see that barrel coming at you, but he made a nice play. 2 outs. The catcher, Jared Saltalamacchia. Blue Jays using the shift against Saltalamacchia. That's Brett Lawrie, the third baseman, out in right field. They keep Reyes at his position at shortstop. Kawasaki straight away at second.
So you throw something soft the first couple of pitches. Try to get Saltalamacchia out in front just a little bit. Throw off the timing. Maybe you get a ground ball to the right side.
That's a strike. Saltalamacchia hit one right through the shift in last night's game. He hit one right over the top of Brett Lawrie, all the way to the wall and right for a double.
His 30th double for a catcher. It's pretty impressive.
30 doubles, 10 home runs. The Red Sox lead the majors with 261 doubles. They also lead with 411 extra base hits.
And it's no coincidence they lead in runs scored. 609.
This ball is going to split the defenders and go all the way to the wall. It's going to be another double at least for Saltalamacchia. His 31st double comes with 2 outs here in the second.
That breaks a tie for the most doubles by a catcher in the major leagues. He was tied with Yadier Molina of the Cardinals. He goes down and gets that breaking ball.
Well, we tell you about the Red Sox, and of course they have a 4-game lead in the American League East, and they're first in runs scored, first in extra base hits, first in walks, which really complements the extra base hit power, and then on base percentage they're second, OPS they're second. This club can really swing the bats.
They're also, when you talk about offense, that ball is driven into right field.
Bautista has it knocked down. He thought it was going to carry better than it did, but Rogers is out of the inning. Red Sox leave a runner. They stranded 3. When we come back, Brett Lawrie having a great August. Mark DeRosa gets the start tonight, and J.P. Aroncevi had a big game last night, including a homer. Good spot now. He's relaxed. He's at ease. And before the game, he is just kind of enjoying himself. And why not? He's swinging the bat great.
Practicing the hand-eye coordination right there with his juggling. He can do a little bit of everything. How about a little hacky sack with the baseball? Was he a soccer player?
I don't think so. His father was a rugby player. I tell you what, he could do anything. You give him a couple of weeks and he could do anything.
Well, he's just got great legs and he's got quick feet. Ideal for soccer.
Ball on the stick inside. I tell you what, he looks like a different player. Since that road trip up the West Coast where he got a little more relaxed and there's no urgency in his approach.
Slowing the game down. You hear people talk about it all the time about slowing the game down, and he looks relaxed at the plate. He's not jumping at the ball like he was earlier this year. You don't see all that extra movement in his swing that you saw earlier in the year.
2-2. Little chopper. Lester off the mound. Fires in time to retire Laurie. Fans, if you want your baseball questions answered by our team of experts, email asktheexperts@sportsnet.ca and keep your eye out for the home hardware Ask the Experts segment later on in the game. So one down, a couple of bouncing balls back to the mound. Lester handles easily. Mark DeRosa, the DH tonight. DeRosa appeared in the ball game in the ninth inning last night and struck out against the lefty reliever Craig Breslow. DeRosa for the season, a .227 average. He has 34 hits, but he's made the most of those hits. He's got 29 RBIs. He tried to check, and he appealed down to Chris Guccione since no swing. For an extra player like DeRosa, you want production. I don't care about batting average or on-base percentage. You want production. Give me key hits, and DeRosa has delivered.
Yeah, he has had a basket full of key hits this year for the Blue Jays. Putting up a fight every time he gets that plate.
So he takes the walk with one out. That'll bring J.P. Arencibi to the plate in the fifth inning. He snapped a long over, and then in the eighth, he tied it up with a solo home run off Junichi Tozawa.
That was huge right there. Javatola working with J.P. saying we got to get started just a little bit earlier. You're late on a lot of your swings. Get started a little earlier, and I want you to keep your head down. It worked to perfection last night. Single to center field for an RBI, and then that home run late.
A little bit late on that pitch, and that's what Chad Mattola was talking about. Get that foot down a little bit quicker, and you can get to those pitches.
Yeah, you see that a lot with young hitters, that they just don't catch up to the fastball, that they're trying to hit the ball out in front. You just have to get started just a little bit early. You know, it's just quick.
I think it's very difficult for young players to come to the big leagues and accept coaching. They've had success their whole career. Then you get up to the big leagues and you might have a little success for a while. But this is the best pitching you've ever faced, and you need to listen to some advice. And Sebia was ready that time, but out in front and hooks it foul.
You know, it's a whole different ball game up here in the major leagues, even from AAA. AAA is the next rung down. Big difference. Everybody up here can get you out. Everybody can make that ball do something special. So what worked for you in the minor leagues, what worked for you in AAA might not work for you here. You're going to have to make the adjustment.
Aaron Sebia goes after that high fastball and strikes out. 2 down. Kevin Pillar making his first big league start. Great numbers between AA and AAA. 307 average with 57 RBIs. Pillar grew up in California in the San Fernando Valley, West Hills, California. He went to Cal State Dominguez Hills, a Division II school, and was drafted in the 32nd round. For his career in 3 minor league seasons, he's at .321.
Well, you can tell he can hit. As soon as he signed with the Blue Jays, he just started hitting. He can hit the ball to all the fields. Stays inside the ball. Watched him today in batting practice.
Fouls that ball off. Pillar, coming into this game, has 505 at-bats this year. He's an everyday player. And as we mentioned, this is just his 3rd professional season. Blue Jays have done a good job of pushing him through the system.
Yes, yes. Last year he was in low A ball for the Blue Jays.
Gets a piece of it. You can see Lester had him out on that front foot, and you know he's got some butterflies in that stomach churning right now.
Excited, your first big league at bat, facing John Lester. Good news, bad news. Good news is you're in the big leagues.